It is your host, as always, Scott here in Monmouth County, New Jersey. We are getting ready for Newcastle versus Newcastle visiting Liverpool at Anfield. It is second versus second bottom, so it should be a tasty one. You've got Liverpool on a 31 game streak of scoring at least one goal or more. So that is quite impressive, and they will hope to continue. Everybody expects them to continue. I expect at least 3 goals against Newcastle. Don't want to be too confident, but Newcastle really struggling. They only have 1 win on the season. They've got their new manager, Eddie Howe. I think this is probably about his 5th game in charge. And without further ado, let me fire up the lineup for Liverpool. There was some news that came out just about an hour before the match, or some sources even a little bit before then, that we got Hendo there. Never mind. We got Fabinho that shouldn't be there. In place of Hendo. Let me try and get rid of him. But anyway, you've got Fabinho, Curtis, Virgil. Those 3 have contracted COVID. So Liverpool will be without them for today's match, but shouldn't be too much of a bother. Again, I'm really teeing up a smashing result for the Reds today, but any Liverpool fan or non-Liverpool fan really should be expecting a pretty comfortable victory. I was thinking before the match, is it fair to say, I think almost every single person would agree that not a single Newcastle player would start for Liverpool. I think that's usually an interesting discussion to have when typically they have those discussions when the teams are quite similar in quality, and then you kind of want to tip the balance. But that is interesting. I'd almost be curious to do sort of a mental exercise on how many games during a season is one team just 11 players better than the other team, and how often does that translate to a victory for the favored team. But anyway, there are about 10 more minutes until the match starts. I gave you the Liverpool lineup. For those of you interested in the Newcastle lineup, it is Martin Dubravka, Jamal Lewis. This is a 4-4-2. Interesting that a couple teams are back in 4-4-2. It feels like the 90s and 2000s again. But you've got Jamal Lewis left back, Jamal Lascelles center back, Fabian Schär center back, Javi Manquillo, Ryan Fraser, Isaac Hayden, Jonjo Shelvey. Is that Ryan Murphy? I'm sorry, not Ryan. Josh Murphy. Alan St. Maximan. Oh, no, it's Jacob Murphy. Excuse me. And Joelinton up top. It is one of my absolute pet peeves that I tend to say Englishmen call him Joe Linton. It is absolutely pathetic. It's nails on a chalkboard to me. There's absolutely no honest effort being made to call him by his correct name. Of course, him being Brazilian, there's no way in hell that his name is Joe Linton, but nobody seems to care about that. Anyway, perhaps if he were banging in the goals a little bit more, people would put a little bit more effort in. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting fixture. Hopefully there are some goals in it. Liverpool have performed really well against Newcastle in recent years. have really capitalized on their superiority. I remember 2 years ago, shout out to my cousin Johnny in California. It was a very early game in California time, the day of his wedding, September 14th, 2019, and that was a showcase or stage for Bobby Firmino to give that delicious back flick assist to Mo Salah as he just kind of waltzed right through and on the Newcastle goal, and that was a 3-1 victory that day for the Reds. There also was a very close run thing. I think this was at the tail end of the 2018-2019 season, the Champions League season, the New Balance season with the white stripes here and the collar, where Divock Origi scored, I think it was an 87th minute header. If you remember, for those of you that have a very good memory, Trent was standing over the ball on the right-hand side, and I think somebody, it might have been Virgil, was calling Trent off and telling Shaqiri to take it for an in-swinger, and Origi leapt highest, got his head to the ball, and got the late winner, which was extremely important in that title race. Unfortunately for Liverpool, we were not able to overcome City's lead, who were able to maintain and win that season, I believe, by, was it 1 point or 2 points? I think those were two of the top 4 Premier League teams of all time that season. So yeah, that was a phenomenal title race. Let's see, what else do we got here? Anybody, as always, please let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from, who you support, and any and all comments you might have on today's match. I'm happy to have any sort of companionship as we watch the game. I'll have some commentary, but really the main idea behind these streams is to have an in-match discussion. Of course, I'm covering the Liverpool and Newcastle game. I'm a huge Liverpool fan. I reside in New Jersey, born and raised. And anyway, yeah, just let me know any questions you have or comments, and tell me how Mo Salah is the best player in the world, which of course he is. Thankfully, the COVID bug didn't bite him. But yeah, any Liverpool fans out there, let me know if you're nervous about today's match. Again, I kind of covered it in that I don't think any Newcastle players would get into the Liverpool team, so that right there should tell you that we should really have this covered, as well as I think I was just listening to the Redmen speak before this match, saying that if this was the lineup that we trotted out, COVID or no COVID, you still wouldn't really bat an eye. I mean, again, this Liverpool squad is so not so deep, but we do have some quite great depth, and I think that's a tricky one. I think it's really interesting because I saw the Redmen tweet out that this is the deepest squad that Liverpool have ever had in their history. Which I won't agree or disagree with. I think I'd have to think about it a bit longer, but I think it's just interesting because I think this is sentiment that a lot of Liverpool fans would have completely scoffed at prior to the season. So many of us were clamoring for Gini Wijnaldum replacement. A lot of people were happy to see him go. There's all these different camps within the Liverpool fan base. I myself was quite scared to see Gini go, just because he had been part of the fabric of the club for the last 5 years, basically all of Klopp's reign, and he may not be the sexiest sort of player, but he was really important and really reliable. So anyway, but thankfully Liverpool have been able to weather that storm, and we've only scored more and more goals, which I think a lot of people would have suspected or theorized, but I think that's all too easy to say that, oh, you have like a workman type midfielder, you take him out, you put somebody like Thiago in, and sure, you're going to score more goals. I'm getting a little bit of feedback that the camera isn't focused. Let me see if I try to terrific. That was good news in that text. Yeah, let me see if I can just tweak this a bit. Let me see if that's a little bit better. Maybe I shouldn't do too much movement, but anyway, do let me know if it's coming through all right for you. As we should be getting underway very shortly, but the Peacock feed is not popping up for me just yet. We do have, as always, and as you can probably guess, I'm trying to switch these things up because for those of you that have been tuning in every week, you probably see the trivia question coming, and if you do, I appreciate if you don't cheat. Because it has been the same trivia question the last couple weeks, but today I'm going to pose to you let's tease that for a little bit later, as kickoff is probably going to get underway very shortly. But of course, please name the players that have featured for both Liverpool and Newcastle. There's a lot. I'm just asking for those in the Premier League era. I'm looking for 8. Let's see if anybody out there can get them all on their own, or just shout it out in the chat. That is fine too. But some of them are somewhat obvious. Some of them are playing today. Some of them were. One of them was mentioned already. And then some of them are somewhat obscure. Some of them I never would have gotten because I didn't realize that they had played for Newcastle. In my case, I knew that they had played for Liverpool. But yeah, there's some interesting ones out there. So there's 8 that I'm looking for. I'll call it Premier League era. And then you've got some players beyond that, but players that everyone will have heard of. Some greats in there. As well as I will be looking for one golden answer that is in neither category, and who knows, I don't think I have any sort of trivia prize, but maybe I can come up with something and someone can win something special, maybe just a shout out, but anyway, let's see here. Peacock, don't let me down. Well, while the game is still not underway yet, let me just kind of play around with maybe some lighting that can maybe get a clear picture going for us. Ooh. Nope, don't want to take down that whole operation here. Let's try this. Come on, Peacock, where are you? What's happening? Alright, let's see if this is producing a better picture, maybe just a brighter picture. Alright. Okay. Peacock, what is happening here? The game has started, and we don't have a feed. Holy moly, you gotta be kidding me. Very sorry, folks. I am going to blame this on our friends over at Peacock. It would not be the first time that they have screwed the pooch. And we might be SOL here. What is happening? All right, I think I am going to be screwed here because Peacock is not working, and that is the only feed that is made available to us Americans. NBC has extended its rights to the Premier League for another like 7 years or something, so we'll have this to deal with. Holy moly. Great. Seeing on Twitter, everybody is having the same problem I am, so it's not just me. Unbelievable. Ay, come on. All right, well, bear with us. Hopefully you have a stream working for you. I do not, so I can't really follow the game too much, but it is underway, and it's still 0-0. We're 4 minutes into the match. I did hear, I've got Redmond in my ear, because there's sometimes during the game where something's happening and it turns out to be like a VAR type thing, and I'm just not able to hear or tell what's going on. So I have this as sort of backup information. I don't know what's going on with my stream. Maybe I should, it might be worth just restarting because my quality isn't the greatest. All right. Jota hits the post, or it gets saved. I'm hearing from the Redmen. Hopefully this Peacock situation gets sorted out. This is screwing me. Come on. Newcastle have scored. It's 1-0 to Jonjo Shelvey. There you go. There's one of the former Liverpool players that is playing for Newcastle these days, and it is Shelvey who puts Newcastle 1-0 up, And I can't really say much more than that because I don't have a feed. You know what, guys? I'm just going to shut this down and take this opportunity to tinker with my settings so it's back in action once Peacock figures its stuff out. I also don't really have too much to comment on just now. Do stick with me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that way you'll know when I go live again. And I will see you soon.